You do when your marriage is in such a good place and you're just blissfully happy. Inappropriately, this is of your Prince Harry, inappropriately lunge for a hug with another woman who has a boyfriend and was completely shocked by this right next to your said wife, who I presume was looking away.
They live in their own world, in their own bubble, and Meghan has her truth. There are so many issues going on here.
Harry's awkward smile really said it all. It's like he's looking very unhappy. Look at that. And then he realizes, oh gosh, she is recording me again. I better smile.
Friday night, Victoria, British Columbia. The purple carpet, the final grand gala David Foster would ever host for his foundation's 40th anniversary, and suddenly the entire room felt less like a charity celebration and more like a royal marriage stress test. There was $14.5 million in the room.
Harry and Meghan, I think at this point, are having so many problems behind the scenes, Dan, that this is why you see all this chaos on the front end here in the media, because there's so much happening that we don't see. And this is why it looks chaotic. Does it make sense?
Paying guests already seated, cameras waiting, reputations polished. And then Meghan Markle arrived with Prince Harry at a night that was not a royal duty. Not a palace assignment, not a state obligation.
Weirdly inappropriate, someone who claims to be a member of the British royal family. It's certainly not something you would see most royals do.
You definitely would not, Dan. And it came across as very odd. I feel you in the back of my throat. Maybe that's a British thing. I'm not quite sure what Harry is trying to get across there. Perspective comes across as very odd, going in and lunging for a hug and a cuddle, as she describes it. Again, shows Harry kind of desperately trying to figure out, I think, what this post-royal life means, because they're desperately trying to be royal.
And not something anyone forced them to attend. They came unannounced to someone else's milestone evening. And within seconds, the controversy was no longer about the charity, the music, or even David Foster. It was about control. Because the moment Meghan stepped onto that carpet, the first clue appeared in plain sight. Her arm went out, across, and down, as if she was directing traffic, telling David Foster where to stand at his own event, on his own carpet, on the last night he would ever throw that gala. Beside him was Catherine McPhee, a woman with her own career, her own status, her own accomplishments. And yet, Meghan appeared to be arranging the frame like she owned the room. Then came the sharpest humiliation of the night. David Foster did not take the instruction. He did not nod. He did not glance. He walked straight past her hand like it was not there. In one tiny movement, the power balance changed. And that is where the story becomes dangerous. Because Meghan did not just get ignored by any random man. This was David Foster, the host, the famous songwriter, the man whose charity night had gathered millions, the man she was supposedly honoring by attending. Yet in front of cameras, her gesture failed. Somebody else had to move into shot and rescue the picture. Meghan looked down, then placed both hands behind her back. And suddenly the woman who had appeared to be controlling the carpet looked like she had been corrected by the carpet itself. That tiny retreat became the first public crack in the performance. But before that moment even happened, another clue was already forming in the corridor. According to the account, Meghan stopped walking and told her assistant to pull out her phone and start recording. That is why Harry appeared so far ahead of her in the frames. He was already moving through the evening while she was still setting up the moment, curating the evidence, making sure the night existed not just as an event, but as content. And that matters, because when someone needs every movement captured, every entrance staged, every laugh preserved, the question becomes unavoidable. Was she attending the gala or producing it? Inside, the same pattern allegedly continued. There was a live auction happening, real money being raised for a real charity, and Meghan was filming herself through it. Not bidding, filming, speaking into her phone, saying she had $50,000, using that little performance voice directly for her own recording. Then came the pipers. Before they even reached her, she stopped again so the assistant could bring out the phone and capture it. Every ceremonial detail became another self-made clip, another fragment of public image, another reminder that in Meghan's world, even charity seems to become a mirror. Then the atmosphere shifted again, when a very famous singer took the stage. Meghan was up dancing, hollering, arms going, making sure the whole room noticed her. One person there described it as attention-seeking energy, and whether that is fair or not, the contrast with Harry became impossible to ignore. "Look at him," the source says. "Watch his face." The smile comes late, about a second and a half after it is needed, then disappears, then returns, then flattens again. It is the expression of a man who seems to know when the cameras are on, and who seems to lose the performance the second he thinks nobody is watching. That delayed smile is the kind of clue people remember, because it does not shout. It slips. It reveals itself in the gap between what someone is supposed to feel and what their face manages to deliver. Viewers said he looked unhappy, and then, the instant he clocked Meghan recording him again, he smiled. That is the night she chose. That is the night she planned. That is the carpet she tried to run. But the more she appeared to control, the more the evening began drifting away from her. Then came Sydney Christmas, the 31-year-old British singer, the talent show winner, the woman who would accidentally become the most explosive figure of the night. She performed Tomorrow. Then she performed My Way. Before she began, she made a little joke about the king, and Harry laughed in a way that observers claimed he had not laughed in months. That laugh matters, because all evening Meghan had been filming, dancing, arranging, performing. But this woman on stage got something completely different from Harry. Not a delayed smile, not a duty smile, a real laugh. And then the hug happened. Sydney Christmas came off the stage, and Harry walked toward her with both arms open. Not one arm, not a polite side lean, both arms. He hugged her, and then he told her he had felt every word of it in the back of his throat. The sentence landed like a match thrown into dry grass. What exactly did he think he was saying to a woman he had met barely moments earlier, with his wife somewhere on the same floor, at the same event, under the same cameras? Sydney's own version made it stranger, not cleaner. She said Harry simply went in for the hug, and she thought, well, why not? That is the line that stings. Because it makes her sound polite, almost surprised, while Harry becomes the one moving first. The power of the moment was not in the hug alone. It was in the contrast. Meghan had reached out on the carpet, and David Foster walked past her hand. 2 hours later, Harry reached out to another woman, and she accepted him immediately. Then came the morning after, and this is where the story turned from awkward to radioactive. Sydney posted her thank you message, calling it a pinch me moment, telling Harry he was the loveliest soul she had ever come across. But she did not thank Meghan. She did not tag Meghan. Meghan's name did not appear once. Instead, Sydney tagged Sussex Royal, the dead account that has not posted in 6 years, a digital headstone with a blue tick still attached. Of all the places to send her gratitude, she reached for that ghost account, and apparently, nobody in the Sussex office corrected it. And while Meghan posted plenty that weekend, the auction, the pipers, the dress, the flowers. The whole atmosphere, she did not post one word about Sydney Christmas. Not one mention of the singer whose performance had moved Harry so visibly. Not one public thank you. Not one friendly acknowledgement. 2 women at the same party appeared to publish around each other for 48 hours, like divorced neighbors pretending not to see each other over the fence. And that silence may be the loudest clue of all, because by morning, the purple carpet was no longer David Foster's story. It had become Meghan's missing tag, Harry's open arms, Sydney's thank you, and one question hanging over the entire Sussex brand. Who really controlled that night when the cameras caught everything except the truth? The silence became even louder when the timeline stretched backward instead of forward. Because that Friday night in Victoria, British Columbia was not an isolated incident. 4 weeks earlier, on 10th of July, at the National Exhibition Centre in Birmingham, the countdown to the next Invictus Games had officially begun. Meghan Markle was expected to appear beside Prince Harry, but according to the account, she pulled out over security concerns. For once, Harry stood alone. And almost immediately, observers claimed something about him looked completely different. A television presenter approached him, the two laughed together, bounced around a laser course, joked naturally. And Harry openly admitted he was one of her secret admirers. He even volunteered that his children loved watching her baking program. It was spontaneous, relaxed, and strikingly unlike the carefully choreographed appearances many had come to associate with the Sussexes. That single morning triggered an entirely new conversation. The woman who had spent 2 years writing Harry's biography reportedly watched the same footage and publicly declared that Harry always seemed happier whenever Meghan was not around. Another broadcaster had reportedly been making the same argument for months, insisting that the weight appeared to lift from Harry the moment he was alone. Suddenly, commentators were no longer debating one awkward interaction or one unfortunate photograph. They were connecting Birmingham in July with Victoria in August, seeing the same man smiling freely in one place and embracing another woman in the other, while Meghan was absent from both defining moments. Then another overlooked detail resurfaced. Go back to that purple carpet once again, but ignore the faces this time. Watch Meghan's left hand. By this stage, people had already noticed something else disappearing from public view. Her engagement ring had reportedly been absent for months. Los Angeles in March, Geneva in May, Australia, her own film screening at the end of July. Again and again, the engagement ring was nowhere to be seen, while only the wedding band occasionally remained. According to the narration, the last confirmed public sighting of that famous engagement ring had been back in February. Then the focus shifted away from body language and toward the people who had been warning about trouble long before this gala. One veteran royal biographer, who had spent decades covering the royal family and authored one of the most influential books on Princess Diana, had already declared during July that the Sussex marriage was facing serious difficulties. Reports insisting the couple remained a united front did little to change her view. Instead, she openly challenged those denials and argued that if legal action were ever taken against such claims, uncomfortable questions would have to be answered under oath. Even more striking was her earlier advice to Harry, that he would be well advised to leave while leaving was still possible. At the time, few paid attention. After Birmingham and Victoria, many began revisiting those comments with renewed interest. By the end of the summer, even mainstream royal reporters were reportedly adopting language that would once have seemed unthinkable. One serious newspaper quoted a longtime source saying, "Things have changed, and the veil is lifting." Other commentators began repeating the same conclusion without prompting, suggesting the couple were leading separate lives, appearing together less frequently, and no longer projecting the united public image they had spent years building. When Harry and Meghan finally appeared together again at David Foster's gala, one television presenter summed up the mood with a blunt remark, calling Harry Meghan's hopeless husband and predicting she would be furious not because of one hug, but because the carefully managed image of the Sussex brand appeared to be slipping beyond anyone's control. And that leaves one final question hanging over everything that happened between 10th of July in Birmingham and that Friday night in Victoria, British Columbia. Was this simply a series of unrelated moments amplified by public fascination, or were those moments exposing something much larger unfolding behind palace walls and far beyond the cameras? Because if one ignored gesture, one missing ring, one unexpected hug, and one unanswered thank you post could ignite this much speculation, what happens the next time Harry and Meghan step into the same room, if they still do at all?